Rin used to be a regular teenager with no plans for the future except binging anime, just like you. However, when he unlocks his demonic powers, he is forced to live like an outcast who hides his powers from demons and humans because, honestly, they make him look like the product of Lucifer's one-night stand with an ugly McDonald's waiter. In a church one night, some monks gather for a demon suppression ceremony. That goes miserably wrong. One after the other, the monks are engulfed in blue flames that burn them to crisps, and even the Pope isn't spared from the fire. The monks all end up as burnt barbecue, while the church is also destroyed in the incident that would later be known as the Blue Night. Fast forward to some years later. Our main protagonist named Ryan beats the shit out of some kids in the neighborhood. Since he was raised in a church orphanage, he goes to confess his sins to the priest. He doesn't really admit that he got into a fight, and even claims he only got a nosebleed because he saw a super hot babe with gigantic racks. The old priest pops out of the confession chamber, because he's also a man of culture who wants to acknowledge the view. However, Ryan reveals he was just kidding, which makes the priest lash out at him. The priest's name is Fujimoto, and he has been the one taking care of troublesome Ryan and his twin brother ever since they were little. Fujimoto advises Ryan to be responsible like his younger brother, who then shows up to report that he's gotten his things ready to leave. Ryan's twin brother's name is Yukio, and unlike Ryan, who got the bad part of their parents' DNA, Yukio is an academic and athletic genius. Even the monks at the church wish Ryan could have just 5 of his brother's brain cells because he has absolutely nothing substantial going on for him. While treating the injuries Ryan got from his brawl, Yukio expresses concern about how he'll survive when he leaves to resume school the following week. Rin tries to explain to his little brother that he doesn't just get into random fights and that he was actually stopping some guys who were being cruel to the pack animals. Just then, the monks bring in a poster of a job vacancy for Ryan who can't keep a job. They even registered on his behalf and only informed him because the following day is his interview. I'd suggest they simply enroll him in the UFC, but as usual, parents are too uptight about career paths. 15 years old, Rin arrives at the place of the interview with a suit he clearly borrowed. And when the interviewer finds out he only just finished middle school, she tells him he'll surely become a failure in life if he doesn't finish high school. She's probably not a fan of hip-hop music. To further rub it in, she gives him an impossible task he'll never be able to finish in a day. But this guy has a little Kryptonian blood that lets him load the packages in seconds. However, his bright start soon becomes chaotic because anything his hands touch turns into a massive disaster that pisses off the manager. While sulking in the kitchen, the cook offers him a pack of soup that tastes like sour soy sauce, mixed with expired milk. He tells the cook that she doesn't know how to cook, and as soon as he takes over, every customer lines up to have a taste. As a result of his mad cooking skill, he is hired by the potato-sized manager. Outside the shop, he finds a girl chasing her flying scarf, so he helps her catch it. The terror in her face soon makes Rin look closely only to discover a small demon running away with the scarf. The demon runs into the shop, destroying everything it comes across and makes some stacked cans fall on the little girl whom Ryan shields with his body. As a result of the incident, he is fired from his job so he doesn't go home because it's embarrassing. Yukio finds him sitting in the pack and asks him to explain what happened at the shop. Ryan still thinks the demon was just a monkey, but he is so confused, he doesn't know how to explain what happened. On getting home, he finds the little girl and her dad thanking Fujimoto at the entrance of the church. The dad thinks his daughter loses her stuff because she is clumsy, but Ryan explains that he saw her being bullied by a monkey. He then thinks it must be a prank by her peers in school, but the girl reveals that the fairies come to her room at night. Of course, the dad doesn't believe in fairies, so Fujimoto lends her a 4-leaf clover to protect her. When Ryan wakes up the next day, he finds bugs everywhere in town, but it seems like he is the only one that can see them. He also runs into the kids he beat up some days and notices one of them has a lot of bugs around him. In the alley, the guy begins to transform into an angry demon. Although his friends don't realize this themselves, he tries to burn Rin with a hot rod, and in that moment, Ryan is engulfed in blue flames that the demon possessing the guy reveals to be the sign of Satan's offspring. Just when the demon tries to take Rin with him to hell, Fujimoto shows up like a badass and uses a chant to exorcise the demon possessing him. Fujimoto then reveals to Ryan that he is a demon's child and that of Satan himself, so his dad would be sending his demonic army to bring him home. While they head home, demons begin to spawn at every turn while Fujimoto tries his best to protect Rin. Once they get to the church, the monks put up numerous barriers with salt and holy water which keeps the demon's minions at bay. Rin is then taken to a secret chamber where he's given a Nichiren sword called Kurikara. Fujimoto explains that his demonic powers are sealed in the sword, so he should keep it safe but never draw it out because he'll become a full-blown demon with horns and a tail. For an orphan who just found out he is Satan's child, Rin isn't all that riled up, I must say. Once the demon breaks into the church, along with his minions. He grabs Rin by the leg, so the monks drench the ugly shit with holy water. Fujimoto gives Ryan his cell phone, which has only one contact, after which he is locked in the enchanted basement. The monks go full Constantine mode, with magic circles and summonings who engage the demons, all to protect Rin. The demon of rot uses his powers to infest anyone who comes near him, after which he transforms into a giant beast with horns. Just then, Ryan breaks out of the basement and throws a fork at the ugly-ass demon who keeps calling him master. This allows Fujimoto enough time to exorcise the demon once again before he releases more mushrooms. After the battle, Ryan finally snaps and begins ranting and cursing at Fujimoto, so the old man gives him a hot slap on his cheeks to restore his factory settings. Suddenly, Fujimoto collapses and Satan takes over his body, emitting blue flames all over. He kills anyone who dares approach him. Then he uses Fujimoto's blood to summon a Gehenna gate where they can pass through to hell. Just when he throws Ryan into the gate to go in with him, Fujimoto manages to regain a bit of his consciousness and stabs himself in the heart. As a result of his death, Satan goes back to the Gehenna, which is their own slang for hell. As the gate sucks Rin and Fujimoto in, Rin quickly unsheathes his sword and uses the power to destroy the gate. Some days later, a shady guy who's late to the Barbie trend waltzes in with a pink limousine to take Rin to his academy. It turns out he is the principal of Yukio's academy and also an eccentric demon who runs a secret school for exorcists, while Yukio is named the freshman representative and has everyone fangirling over him. Ryan behaves like an uncultured loud brat who gives everyone the creeps. After classes, Ryan follows a cute dog out into the courtyard where it transforms into Mephisto, the principal. He hands Rin a magic key that can take him to his cram school through any door. They head into the secret cram school, where he finds a dirty classroom filled with weirdos, who also want to become exorcists. After a while, Yukio comes into the class as their homeroom teacher, and of course Rin doesn't stop himself from freaking out. Yukio explains that he has been studying exorcism since he was 7 years old, and already has a certificate, so he should be treated with respect. The fact that Yukio kept such a secret from him makes him question Yukio repeatedly. So, he suspends the class to give him an explanation. Once everyone leaves, Ryan questions his calm and collected brother so violently that he mistakenly spills a demon sample. As a result, the classroom is filled with hobgoblins that Yukio begins to shoot down with his pistol. Rin watches as his supposed weak-ass brother, who he always protected, displays his overwhelming skill as an exorcist while defeating the hobgoblins. Yukio blames Ryan for Fujimoto's death and claims that he should have been handed over to the Order of Exorcist a long time ago. He points his gun at Ryan, so Ryan draws out his sword ready for a fight. However, he runs past Yukio to slay a gigantic hobgoblin. That's obviously too big for a pistol to handle. After the battle, they eventually make up and Ryan acknowledges Yukio as his teacher. That night, Ryan also finds out that Yukio is his roommate, and they are the only ones in the dorm because he is considered dangerous. Some days later, Ryan begs Yukio to take him along for an exorcism request he received in town. Yukio tells him he doesn't have authorization for combat, so he can only observe him work, after making Ryan promise not to get in the way of his job. They use a key to warp to a tall bridge that leads them to an isolated house sitting at the top of a hill. At the entrance to the supply house, Yukio tells him to wait outside while he picks up what he needs for his mission. As expected, Ryan begins to loiter around until he arrives at a garden with beautiful flowers and a girl in the middle tending to them. When he makes contact with the gate makes a weird noise before a part of it breaks off. The girl is startled that the warding spell on the gate reacted to Rin, and this makes her call him a demon as she freaks out. She tries to run away from him, but she falls down because the lower part of her body is a vegetable just like the flowers in her garden. She soon calms down and introduces herself as Shiemi, while she somehow makes Ryan work for her using her feminine charm to her advantage. She reveals that the garden was her late grandmother's pride, so she has been trying to maintain it after she died. After a while, Yukio shows up to examine what is wrong with her legs. He finds out that roots are growing inside her legs and that it is definitely the work of a demon. He further explains that she isn't possessed, but the demon at work is somewhere in the garden. It's that night. Ryan tries to trash the garden in search of the demons, but Shiemi stops him while explaining how precious the garden was to her grandma, who even died on it. Once Ryan manages to convince her to focus on the present and help her mother, who is still alive, the demon shows itself and takes Shiemi hostage. The demon uses Shiemi as a shield each time Ryan tries to strike her down, so they are stuck in the same situation for hours. Yukio suggests that they just kill the demon along with Shiemi, but the demon thinks he is bluffing. He then shoots at Shiemi without hesitation, causing the demon to detach from her in an attempt to flee, which gives Ryan an opening to slay it. In class, Ryan hardly pays attention to the lessons, and this pisses off his classmates, especially a guy who looks like he's old enough to be their dad. During the next class, Shiemi gets a terrible score in demon medicine, even though she was so confident because she grew up in a medicine store. It turns out she renamed the plants to funny names instead of using their official names. While Ryan laughs at her, he is handed his score, which is the lowest in the class. Meanwhile, the punk with piercings, named Suguro, gets a near-perfect score, prompting Ryan to accuse him of cheating. Suguro doesn't hesitate to remind Rin of the countless times he slept in class, and they soon begin to bicker. They continue their competition during PE class, where they both run away from a leaper demon at top speed. It's before the period is over. They end up fighting each other, and everyone steps in before the fight escalates. While the teacher scolds Suguro at one end, Shima and big-headed Komaru, who are from the same temple as him, explain to Ryan how Suguro hopes to defeat Satan and rebuild their temple that was destroyed by Satan during the Blue Night. Just then, the instructor receives a call from his lover, so he ditches the student and runs home to meet her because he simply can't say no to his baby. Once he leaves, Suguro challenges Ryan to approach the chained demon that has the ability to read human minds and only attack when their resolve isn't solid. Ryan refuses his challenge because he doesn't want to reveal his blue flames that'll reveal his identity as a demon. Suguro goes ahead to challenge the leaper demon, causing the girls to laugh at him as he proclaims that he'll defeat Satan. He ends up letting their laughter shake his resolve, and this makes the demon go on a rampage. Before it can attack, Ryan jumps in front of the leaper to shield the rude punk from the attack. Ryan screams that he'll be the one to defeat Satan in front of everyone, causing Suguro to accuse him of stealing his dream as they get into another argument. Since the cafeteria food in the school is too expensive, Yukio and Ryan decide it'll be best if they make their own food. Yukio volunteers to buy the ingredients with his money, while Ryan uses the only talent he has to make them meals. Ryan spends the night preparing the side dishes for the following day. However, the next morning he lashes out at Yukio when he finds out the dishes he prepared have been eaten. Ryan argues that they are the only ones in the dorm. And at that moment, Yukio somehow recalls that there must be a third person because they always wake up to breakfast every morning. It turns out they've been eating meals without knowing how they got there since they resumed. Wow, these guys have zero trust issues, unlike my ex. They hurry to the kitchen to find Mephisto making breakfast for them. He reveals that Ukobak, his familiar who has been cooking their meals, got angry because Rin used the place without its permission. That night, Ukobak shows up, so Ryan challenges it to a cooking contest that goes on for hours, causing them to form a strong bond in the process. Some days later, Yukio announces that they'll soon take the Esquire examination, which would allow them more combat training. He also announces that they'll be going on a training camp, although it isn't compulsory to participate. The gang also explains to block-headed Ryan that there are 5 total classes of Exorcist after reaching the Esquire level, and each class has a specific combat role. Komaru reveals that he wants to be an area whose task is to cast out demons by chanting Bible verses, while Suguro's planning on training as an area and a dragon as well. Ryan easily fits into the bunch, so much that Suguro freaks out while secretly hoping he doesn't change his friendship triangle into a square. For the next class, the tutor summons a demon using a magic circle he drew. He then hands everyone a piece of paper with a magic circle for them to attempt summoning a demon. A girl called Izumo easily summons a twin fox spirit that impresses the teachers, while Shimi summons a tiny green man spirit that doesn't even look like a demon during the training camp. Yukio leaves them in the dorm while he goes on a mission for a few hours. Once he leaves, the light in the building goes off, leaving them completely in the dark. Just then, a two-headed demon comes through the door and spills miasma on them. As it moves towards them, Shiemi calls forth her cute demon familiar, which sprouts out gigantic roots to hold the demon in place. Despite this, the demon simply reforms and begins to fight its way out of the tree trap. Soon everyone begins to cough and lose strength as a result of the demon's miasma. Although Ryan decides to lure the demon away, the demon already split itself in two, leaving one part of itself behind to attack the others. Suguro suggests that they use a verse from the Bible to exorcise it. But since they've not learned everything completely, Komaru and Suguro decide to recite the part they can remember. Zumo tries to stop them from chanting because it'll only make the demon angrier. However, they simply tell her to shut her bitch mouth if she doesn't want to help out. Over at the control room, Ryan is attacked by the ugly gold demon, who uses his whip-like arms to fling him around. When he notices he is on the verge of losing his life, he uses his blue flames to scare the demon, who retreats to its master, who turns out to be one of the teachers we'll call Mr. Eyepatch. Mr. Eyepatch reveals that he knows Ryan's identity and also confesses to hurting his friends at the other end. This prompts Ryan to unleash his demonic power that he uses to defeat the ghoul demon in an instant. At the same time, Shiemi collapses, causing the demon to break free from her trap. while Shima and Izumo try their best to hold it back long enough for Suguro to finish chanting the Book of John. The demon grabs hold of Suguro, who continues to chant. It tries to smash him on the wall, but the light comes on, which disorients it, allowing Suguro to finish the chant that exorcises it once the battle ends. Yukio shows up alongside Mr. Eyepatch. Mephisto also shows up to reveal that they had exorcists in place, and the entire attack was actually their Esquire exam. Later on, everyone wonders if they actually did enough to pass the surprise exam in flying colors. This makes Suguro point out the two students who always behave like NPCs and are always playing with toys or consoles while they work their asses off to survive. Outside, Yukio confronts the overzealous lecturer, who went to confront Ryan on his own. He tries to explain that Ryan's power is supposed to be a secret even to most teachers. So the teacher responds by claiming that he was only following Mephisto's order. That night, Mr. Eyepatch tries to assassinate Ryan in his sleep, only to stab an empty bed that Yukio prepared because he was cautious. Yukio catches him in the act, and they soon get into a serious fight that escalates into a kill or be killed situation. The guy telepathically controls numerous demonic hands, which he sends Yukio's way, while Yukio shoots them down as fast as he can. The guy who is used to fighting often summons a giant ghoul that Yukio's bullet doesn't work on. It smashes him against the wall with so much force, but then Ryan shows up out of the blue to engage the beast. He tries to attack Mr. Eyepatch, who sprays holy water on him to subdue him, while his ghoul tries to make his brain pop. This distraction allows Yukio to erase the magic circle that was used in summoning the ghoul, so that Mr. Eyepatch is left defenseless. They then ask why he is obsessed with Rin, prompting him to reveal that he was a survivor of the Blue Night. He explains how he was possessed by Satan and made to kill his family and also lost an eye in the process. When he attacks next, Ryan doesn't defend against him just to prove that he understands his pain. When Ron tells him not to drag innocent people into his revenge plot, Eyepatch decides to go home for the day. One day during the summer, Ryan goes out to run some errands for Yukio, who is busy with his adult job. When he returns, Yukio asks for his mineral water, but our guy uses all the money to buy ice cream. Although Yukio lets it slide, he starts begging to go on a mission, so Yukio asks him how he intends to follow orders when he can't even run an errand properly. They soon get into an argument, and Ryan accidentally destroys Yukio's glasses in the process. Just then, Yukio receives a call for a job, so he just brings out another pair from the numerous spares he has ready. While he heads to the school gate, Ryan follows behind despite being warned severally to go back to the dorm, since the matter is pretty urgent. Everyone quickly heads to the scene, where a familiar whose master recently died has gone berserk. The guards it attacked reveal that the cat was Fujimoto's familiar, and it only went berserk when it heard them talking about his death. The cannon fodder exorcists try every means in their arsenal to exorcise it. However, nothing seems to affect it, because it's an old demon that has lived for hundreds of years. While it engages the exorcist, Ryan discovers that he can understand what the cat is saying. Yukio brings out a special grenade, handed to him by Fujimoto, who foresaw the situation before he died. He reveals that the grenade would probably kill the demon, so everyone should step back while he goes in alone. Ryan hears the cat screaming that it's impossible for Fujimoto to die because he's the strongest exorcist, but everyone just thinks it's making weird demon noises. Drin suggests that Yukio allows him to convince the cat to calm down. He claims he can understand what it's saying. Thanks to demon telepathy, he approaches the cat, stating bluntly that Fujimoto is actually dead, and this makes it more angry. It moves to attack Rin, who simply headbutts it, because Yukio told him to use his head instead of relying on his demonic powers. Green talks about his dad and manages to calm the cat, who eventually accepts the death of its master. Meanwhile, Mephisto and his brother Amaimon watch from behind disappointedly because Amaimon was only invited to toy with Rin and measure his strength. That weekend, Ryan, Shima, and Izumo are instructed to sell seafood at a popular beach. Although Izumo doesn't help out a lot, Shima lets her do what she likes because she's just too cute in her summer wear, while relaxing in the ocean. She gets a serious leg cramp, which a kid notices and tries to make sure her insides aren't filled with salt water. Although the kid saved her life twice, Izumo thinks he wants to assault her because she's cute. Soon there's a commotion in town, so everyone goes to the dork to observe the shadow of a big demon that has blackened the ocean. Although no one really asked him, an old priest begins to explain how the demon is a legendary giant squid that blackens the sea with his ink. They soon run into the kid, who saved Izumo's ungrateful ass earlier that day. He introduces himself as Yohei and asks them to show him the way to the supermarket. Shima doesn't understand why they're the ones showing a local around, so he explains that his dog usually leads the way because his sense of direction is worse than Zoro's. It's that night at the inn. They are served different varieties of squid, rather than assorted seafood. The butt-chin lecturer informs them that ever since the demon Kraken appeared, The fishermen have only been catching squids in the sea. He soon gets a phone call from his lover again, so he ditches them to go get freaky with her. Before he leaves, he tells them that they'll have to watch over Yohei, who's obsessed with the demon because his sailor dad was killed by it some months ago. This automatically ruins their plans to goof around with girls in bikinis, but since it's a mission, they have no choice but to accept. Yohei shows up with his 8-year-old Riz and hands Izumo a balm to treat her head that he banged while saving her. For the next few days, Yohei constantly sits by the dorks waiting for the demon to show up in the town. The usual Ice Queen Izumo suddenly takes interest in the kid and tries to make him give up on defeating the Kraken. The Kraken actually shows up just before dusk, prompting Shima to recite the Book of Ephesians that's supposed to be fatal to it. But it's not affected, probably because Ryan mistook its fins for its ears. Once the Kraken begins to destroy the town, Ryan's new familiar named Blackie transforms and attacks the Kraken. However, the supposedly intense battle is short-lived because Blackie, like all cats, is allergic to raw squid meat. Yohei suddenly pops up in the sea with a boat and a hap-on which he uses to engage the Kraken on his own. He then jumps into the sea in an attempt to stop his reckless action. However, nothing he says is enough to change the kid's mind. When he lands a hit on the Kraken again, he gets thrown into the depths of the ocean, causing Ryan to save him just before he drowns. Just as Ryan decides to fight the demon with his demonic powers, Yohei's dad howls up unharmed behind the Kraken. The teacher shows up shortly after and informs them that the Kraken isn't actually their enemy because it was the one that actually saved Yohei's dad. Back in Japan, everyone is hit with a massive shocker. Shimi has been hiding her huge racks in her kimono all along. Yukio splits the class into pairs while explaining that they are to look for the ghost that has been hiding in the pack for some time. When asked what a ghost is, Izumo defines a ghost as a demon who possesses the water vapor emitted from a dead human's body. I feel so relieved that it isn't my grandma's spirit that has been haunting me. Rin is the lucky guy that's paired with Shiemi, and he doesn't hesitate to stare at her figure in her undersized uniform. He notices Shiemi acting strange and making weird faces, prompting him to ask if she's okay. She tells him she's just too excited, because she's always wanted to go to an amusement park, but she couldn't because she can't stand crowds. After searching for a while, they find the kid ghost crying like someone stole his candy. Ryan doesn't buy his crocodile tears, but Shiemi does, and he quickly rests on her chest to seek comfort. Once he is comfortable, he grabs him like his own before running away like a professional prankster. Shiemi goes after him, while Ryan stays behind in case he circles back to trick her. He soon encounters a Maimon, who introduces himself as a demon king and his older brother. He steals Ryan's sword and unsheathes it just to see how his demonic powers work. He continues toying with the sword like an on and off switch, pissing Rin off so much that he attacks him. Amon dodges the attack, after which he turns on the electricity in the park, while forcing Rin into a game of tag. He starts to beat up Ryan, who doesn't attack at first. However, Ryan turns up the flames and goes full Ghost Rider on the MF. Amaimon then uses his earth powers to cause a mild earthquake that easily destroys a part of the park. The rubble also traps Shimi in a dangerous spot, and when she screams for help, Ryan uses his flames to save her just in time. Despite the brilliant display, Amaimon claims that he's bored and decides to break Rin's Demon Slayer sword. Just then, one of the NPC classmates who had never said a word draws out a weird sword from her chest, which she uses to attack Amaimon. On noticing that the girl recognizes him, he hands the sword back to Rin and exits the scene. When Yukio arrives, the NPC girl removes her disguise and introduces herself as Shura, a first-class exorcist assigned to eliminate whatever Japanese exorcist branch is hiding from the Vatican. She means Rin, of course. Want to know what happens next? Check out some of our other videos about Satan and demons blending in modern-day Japan.